This week's Smackdown featured the Rules of Engagement segment between Roman Reigns and Jey Uso. And there were some parts that some fans got confused by, so we'll break it all down. The first big segment of the night for the Bloodline story came from a backstage segment between Roman Reigns, Solo Sikoa, and Paul Heyman. For years now, Roman Reigns has called himself the Tribal Chief, but there was no physical representation of that position and title. Well, that has all changed. Roman's red lei is now the physical representation of the Tribal Chief position. It's become like the actual championship for the Bloodline family, so to speak. We saw this really first come into play during the trial of Roman Reigns segment, where Roman took the lei off and placed it on Jey's head to pretend to pass the family torch to him. And then we saw that big moment of Solo Sikoa picking up the red lei and hesitating to give it back to Roman, implying that Solo probably thought Roman was unfit to keep ruling the family and possibly wanted the powerful lei all to himself. So over the last few weeks, the red lei has truly become that physical representation of Roman's Tribal Chief position. So that's important to know before we get into this backstage segment. But the backstage segment is a few seconds long and just consists of Roman looking down and holding the red lei tightly in his hands while glancing over at Solo Sikoa, who just nods his head, and Paul Heyman in the background, who seems terrified and unsure about Roman's next move. The segment quickly ends after a few seconds and features absolutely no dialogue at all. But even with no words being spoken, the segment still speaks volumes through the symbolism. Roman was holding tightly to the red lei because obviously he and the audience both know what it represents and what it means to him. That's all of his power right there. He's holding his Tribal Chief position right in his hands, and he looks over to Solo Sikoa, almost like in a paranoid way, because he's unsure if Solo Sikoa truly wants to serve him, or if Solo is slowly trying to sneak his way into getting that red lei in his hands. So it's something that a lot of fans saw coming a long time ago. Everyone always knew that it'll get to the point where Roman Reigns is absolutely paranoid of everybody, trying to come for his spot, even his own family members. And it looks like we've gotten to that point right now. The Usos are long gone, and Solo Sikoa is the only one by his side, but Roman can't fully trust Solo Sikoa and is now paranoid of him as well. So things are pretty rough for Roman Reigns right now because he's dealing with Jey, the rest of the locker room, and now even looking over his shoulder constantly at Solo Sikoa. So that appears to be the main reasoning behind that backstage segment. Roman clearly doesn't trust Solo all the way anymore. But since Solo is all he has, Roman appears to be giving him a pass for some of his questionable actions over the last few weeks. But we get to the in-ring segment between Roman Reigns and Jey Uso, and it turns out that the Rules of Engagement segment is very similar to a contract signing segment. Roman Reigns sits down at the head of the table and tells Jey that he's nothing but a soldier and pawn in his game before signing the contract. But when it comes to Jey signing the contract, we get the big twist and reveal of the segment. Jey tears up the contract and says that they don't need a contract because the contract is in their blood. Jey says that it'll be tribal combat match at SummerSlam. Jey explained it pretty much as a no disqualification, anything goes sort of match. Roman Reigns seems surprised to hear this and asks if the elders knew of this, and Jey tells him that it was the elders' idea. So that was a nice little touch there too. It's been several months since the elders were referenced and mentioned in a big way on WWE television. So it was a nice addition to bring them back up here in this moment and say that it was their idea for Roman and Jey to have a tribal combat match. So the second Roman learned that the elders had suggested this idea, his attitude and mood completely changed. He went from being his normal, arrogant, and condescending self to being extremely more respectable about the match and entire situation. Roman got up, placed his red lei on top of the title, and went to the other end of the table to shake hands with Jey Uso and touch heads. The reason for Roman's sudden change in behavior within this moment is because of the fact that it was now a tribal combat match instead of an ordinary match. And with the elders looking on and suggesting this match, Roman knew that he had to be honorable and respect the family tradition. So this moment does answer a lot of questions we had about Roman Reigns. With how out of control he can be at times, we question if he still respects his family and the elders. Or will he just ignore them all and continue to go off the rails? Well, this segment showed that despite how far gone Roman could be at times, he still appears to be an honorable man when it comes to his family traditions and the elders of the family. So that question has been answered. Roman still heavily respects the elders of his family and their traditions. That's why he had the peaceful handshake with Jey Uso, despite everything that's been happening between them over the last few years. But just as Roman and Jey are having that honorable and traditional handshake agreement, Solo Sikoa basically loses his patience, flips the table, and goes to spike Jey Uso. But surprisingly enough, Roman Reigns held Solo Sikoa back because Roman knows what Solo was doing was highly inappropriate and disrespectful to the family tradition. That was happening right there within that moment. But Jey wasn't taking any chances and still kicked Solo Sikoa anyway. Roman and Jey didn't put any hands on each other, and Roman slowly left the ring. So not only was this moment very telling for Roman, but it also told us a lot about Solo Sikoa. Why didn't Solo Sikoa understand what was going on between Roman and Jey? Why did he just act out like that out of nowhere during a family tradition moment? Obviously, we don't have the actual answer quite yet, but fans feel like this moment could have been telling us that Solo is a bit out of the loop and isn't really aware of all the family traditions. Maybe it's Roman's fault. Maybe it's Roman's job to keep Solo up to date, and he really hasn't been doing that. So that's why Solo didn't really comprehend the moment there between Roman and Jey. So in a way, maybe it's a bad look on Roman for not keeping Solo fully informed on the way the family does things. But it appears that this SummerSlam match between Roman and Jey will still basically be a no disqualification match. So that does make things pretty interesting. Even if it was an ordinary match, everyone would have expected to still see some form of outside interference. But now that it's basically a no-rules match, outside interference is pretty much a guarantee in this matchup. Solo Sikoa should definitely get involved and try to help out Roman sometime within the match. And for Jey Uso, a lot of fans believe that Jimmy Uso could make a surprise return to get involved in this match and try to cancel out Solo Sikoa from interfering with Roman versus Jey. And it's a very important match because, as we now know, not only is the Universal title on the line, but the elders have also given their blessing for this matchup to also be the right to lead the family as the tribal chief. So there's a lot on the line with this massive matchup. Roman Reigns should definitely still be the favorite to win, but the story and match should still be a lot of fun to see unfold, and where it will take Roman's title reign to next after SummerSlam. But what are your thoughts on today's stories? Leave your comments below, don't forget to subscribe with all notifications on, and leave a like if you enjoyed. Thanks for watching, guys.